What's up, everybody? This is the Tuesday edition of the Around the Association podcast. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, checking with you live this afternoon from a rainy Orlando, Florida. I know when you say the word rainy in Orlando, Florida all at the same time, it is a kind of like a oxymoron, I guess. So for the next few minutes, I know we're going to be talking everything Cleveland Cavaliers in this pod, and don't worry, I will discuss Tracy McGrady and his retirement ceremony in another pod later on this afternoon. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have been the story of the NBA for the last, I don't know, I guess it's LeBron James signed the contract, but of late, the Cavs have gone through so many issues with players and coaches that ironically, it's been a kind of a health concern with going on with Cleveland. Kevin Love coming out, talking about his personal demons with dealing with different things on his personal side. Then Tyronn Lue stepping away from the team for personal reasons. Of course, the scapegoat in every single situation has been LeBron James and the expectations of LeBron, so on and so forth. But this podcast is basically let you know about what's going on in Cleveland from the things that I know, the things I've seen. Tyronn Lue he has the most stressful job in the NBA. I mean, let's be honest with you. There are 30 head coaches in the NBA, and every coach has a stress, but Tyronn Lue's stress level is a little bit different. Number one, he is coaching the team that has been in the Eastern Conference Finals and also been to the NBA Finals, each the last since he's taken over the last 3 seasons. And it's not easy, being a first-time head coach and then learning different players and having a influx of players, and it doesn't make things even easier when your best player is the most powerful player and the most powerful man that's not an owner in the entire NBA in LeBron James. LeBron has won pretty much every single year he's been there. People could talk about the finals that he does not win, and the things that he does. He has championships he's not won. But remember, LeBron James has been to the finals every single year since the first exodus in Cleveland. Let's think about that for a second. LeBron James has played meaningful games in June over the last, 4 or 5, going on almost 9 years probably. 7 years actually. It's been the last 7 years LeBron's been playing in the finals. So, he's played the last 3 in Cleveland and then the 4 in Miami. So he hasn't lost an Eastern Conference playoff series in 7 years. So he has the pressure, Tyronn Lue has the pressure of dealing with LeBron James and making this thing work every single year. And to Tyronn's credit, this team has gotten to the finals every single year. Last year wasn't, 2 of the 3 years LeBron's been in the finals in Cleveland since his return has not been successful where they won a championship, but it happens. But they've gotten there. And I think the stress of this year with LeBron James potentially leaving once again and the leaving at an all-time high, it's been a real stress on Tyronn. Most head coaches in the NBA, these guys are workaholics. These guys are basketball lifers. And Tyronn has an expectation to win. His job is on the line. If he doesn't win a championship, he might be out of a job. So it's always the stress on top of that. Then you have to deal with player egos and managing all the players. But also at the same time, you're managing the biggest, I'm not going to say biggest super ego in the entire league. LeBron James has his own, his own personality, own style that you have to understand. And as you hear in the background, there is a tornado warning here in Orlando. Like I said, this is not exactly the easiest thing to deal with. But when you think about what LeBron James brings to the table and the stress level for Tyronn Lue in any situation, it gets to him. I know when they were here right before the trade deadline, Tyronn left the game. He was ill and he wasn't feeling well and didn't return to the bench. And, it was a big story because Tyronn left the bench in the middle of a game and the Cavs were up by 20-something points in the second quarter against the Magic and then proceeded to come out and literally get destroyed in the second half by Jonathan Simmons, who set a season high for points in a quarter for the Magic. And he finished, I think, 35 for the game that night. So he set a career high that night in points. And the Magic obliterated the Cavs in Orlando that night. And I was there and saw Tyronn walk out. He left the locker room. He wasn't himself. That he just wasn't himself. He left and came back and just wasn't the same person. And the health effects has taken a toll on him. So in Lue's case, he's going to be out for about, they're saying maybe a week, should return to the bench next week. Maybe it's that time to rest a little bit to get your nerves going because this is the most important playoff run the Cavs have had in years because this is going to be the determining factor where LeBron James is going to stay in Cleveland going forward. If he leaves, the franchise is going to be a completely different shape, a completely different spectrum, a different realm because you're now going to have to depend on life without LeBron part 2. The team is not in exactly the best cap situation. They're not. They've made moves. They added guys like Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nash Jr., George Hill, Rodney Hood to a team that, has been there for a while that already has pieces like Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, guys that have been there for a while, J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, the team has been around for a while. So, you're trying to implement new pieces down the stretch of a season. So in Cleveland's case, last night's game was kind of a rebirth of the Cavs. Kevin Love returned to the lineup after missing 20 games with a broken hand. He knocked down 18 points, 5 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 9 from the three-point line, 7 rebounds. The Cavs got up a triple-double from LeBron, third triple-double in the last 4 games. It was a 40-point triple-double, and it was a dominant LeBron James effort. Jeff Green, showed up. Another star from Jeff, I think, had 14 points, and Jordan Clarkson played well for the Cavs. But this was one of those Eastern Conference statement games because, of course, LeBron is doing it against one of the better young teams in the league that is one of those teams trying to take out the Cavs in the playoffs, which is, the Milwaukee Bucks led by Giannis, who had, I think, a 34-point game last night. But when you watch the game, the Cavs were beating the Cavs. They were distributing the ball, knocking down shots. Remember, the Cavs were 14-1 this year when they hit 120 points. So if they score a ton of points in a game, they're going to win the majority of the time. Larry Drew comes to the sideline. He's just there for a temporary basis and a temporary fix. Now, the Cavs, looking at their schedule going forward, yes, they beat the Bucks last night. Tomorrow night, they have a humongous test because the Toronto Raptors, the leading team in the Eastern Conference, gets a shot at Cleveland. The good news for the Cavs fans is that the Raptors are playing a back-to-back. They're here in Orlando tonight on Tracy McGrady night. So kind of ironic. They retire McGrady's number, put McGrady in the Ring of Honor, and he's going against the team that drafted him and the team that he left for Orlando and the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are playing a back-to-back. Remember, a back-to-back road trip is not exactly the easiest thing in the world on teams. So, yeah, they might, hopefully they blow out the Magic tonight in the Raptors case and then get to Cleveland tomorrow night. After the Toronto game on Wednesday, the schedule becomes a little bit more friendlier for the Cavs going forward. They have Phoenix. You also have games with Charlotte. You have games with, was it Charlotte? Going off here. They have a couple of games that you have to, in the grand scheme of things, they have coming up. And when the Cavs play well, I think they play Brooklyn, they play Charlotte, they play some under 500 teams. I think Chicago's in this list. I want Miami. Miami's going to be a tough one, of course, but they play some games where Cleveland can get themselves back on footing in the Eastern Conference. Just remember, in this situation, the Cavs have not won or got to the finals when they've been lower than a 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, I think this is a different set of the rules, but the Cavs were a completely different team and built completely different. So when you get back Kevin Love, they're going to get Tristan Thompson back pretty soon. The Cavs are going to start being at full strength. Remember, the Cavs have not had a full strength team since the deadline. So we haven't seen what George Hill and Rodney Hood and Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson do with Kevin Love and with Tristan Thompson. The Cavs are still the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference. They're still the favorites to win the whole thing. And if anybody has anything otherwise to say in this situation, let's talk about this on social media. Let's talk about this anywhere else. Or I'd love to debate you on any type of forum. The Cavs still own the Eastern Conference. The Raptors are the best team in the conference right now. Boston's right behind them. Washington's been playing solid basketball without Wall, who should be back within the next 7 to 10 days, if not sooner. The Bucks are an up-and-coming team. The Sixers are an up-and-coming team. The Heat have been solid all season. None of those teams will beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in 4 games out of 7 in the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Raptors will be a test tomorrow night. Yes, the Raptors are trying to get a gauge for the playoffs. Yes, the Raptors have the best bench in the regular season, and they've been putting up the best numbers. DeRozan's playing at an even higher level than he did last year. Guys like Fred VanVleet are having career seasons. I get it. Valanciunas has been solid. Kyle Lowry's Kyle Lowry. But here's the difference. The Raptors have played better basketball, but that bench is not very experienced in the playoffs. Outside of Norman Powell, their main guys, Siakam, Van Fleet, Podol, those guys don't have significant playoff experience. That's going to count when we get to June. And we get to late May, June, if the Cavs and Raptors are in that Eastern Conference Finals. In Cleveland's case, they've been to the finals 3 consecutive years. LeBron's been to the finals 7 consecutive years. Those guys know how to win games. It's easier for Cleveland to win in Toronto than Toronto to win in Cleveland. It doesn't matter. LeBron does not care, and that team does not care about home court advantage. The Raptors are a great home court team, but just remember, the Raptors have failed in the playoffs against the Cavs the last 2 seasons. LeBron owns the city of Toronto. I hate to say it, Raptors fans, he does own the city of Toronto. I think 5 of the 8 wins in the last 2 years have been over 20 points in those games. LeBron will have his way with the Raptors. The real question is that since Kevin Love is now healthy and Tristan Thompson is about to soon to be healthy, Can Serge Ibaka actually be worth the money trying to guard Kevin Love on the perimeter? And you have guys who are hungry like Clarkson and Hood, and George Hill has a lot of playoff experience. Now, mind you, Hill had played a lot of meaningful minutes in Indiana during the Pacers run when they were trying to beat LeBron in the East. The Cavs have so much playoff experience with LeBron, with Love, with Thompson, with J.R. Smith. Like I said, Hill's played a ton of playoff games. Kyle Korver has been part of the team the last couple of years in these final runs. They have way more experience in the playoffs than the Raptors do. The Raptors have a history of failing in the playoffs. Dwayne Casey sometimes overcoaches what he has, and he has a tendency of doing that and not coaching to the moment. Tyronn Lue is going to have some rest to get himself back for the playoffs. Even though you don't see Lue until April, it's fine. The Cavs will be fine on autopilot until April. They're going to steamroll into the playoffs. Even if you get Boston in round 2, who is not completely healthy, Marcus Smart will probably, they're saying Smart will be back in round 2, but even if you see Cleveland and Boston in round 2, Marcus Smart has not shot a basketball in weeks. That's going to be a problem. Remember, Jaylen Brown still has a past concussion protocol, but he should be fine for the playoffs. Kyrie Irving still has the knee issue. There's still some issues on the depth side. Daniel Theis is gone, and yes, they have Greg Monroe, but Theis is a different type of player than Monroe is. Monroe is offensive-centered. Theis is defensive-minded. When you have Monroe on the court, you have to play Al Horford at the 5 because Monroe can't protect the rim. Protecting the rim is going to be a problem when LeBron James gets to the free throw line and drives on a consistent basis. If LeBron's driving, Love is going to be open on the perimeter. Clarkson can shoot the 3. Hood can shoot the 3. Hill can shoot the 3. Korver can shoot the 3. There are plenty of guys who can shoot the 3. And when Thompson's in the game, Thompson's job is to grab rebounds. The Cavs will have their way with a team like Boston because Boston does not have enough firepower outside of Kyrie Irving. I just don't trust a rookie like Jason Tatum. I love Jason for the game he's been providing all season, or Jaylen Brown to provide the scoring they need to beat Cleveland in the series. Because if Cleveland goes up and down scoring 120 points a game, do you really think the Boston Celtics can keep up with that? They don't have enough scoring options. It's just not there. In Washington's case, Washington might be the only team that's not fearful of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East because they play the Cavs so tough. But the problem with Washington is that they don't have enough depth, especially on the perimeter, and if they get into a contest where they have to score a ton of points, 110, 115, 120 points, don't think the Wizards can maintain that. So, yes, you might see Cleveland struggle right now. Yes, I think they're 6-17 in their last 13 games. But when it's all said and done, the Cleveland Cavaliers will win the Eastern Conference. Just remember, Kevin Love brings a complete dimension to this, a complete different dimension. This is not some guy who's some regular guy. Kevin Love is an all-star. He might not put the numbers up yet in Minnesota because he's a different player than he was in Minnesota. He's still an all-star and still, in my opinion, one of the top 25 players in the league when healthy. So, you add him back to the roster, you get LeBron James healthy, you keep him healthy, and you get everybody back. Thompson coming back, J.R. Smith is going to be streaky. The Cavs will still win the Eastern Conference, and there's not any doubt about that. So, if you agree, let me know. I'm on social media at NBADT29 on Twitter. Follow Around the Association on the Around the Association page on Facebook. Please leave comments below. Share all the way around. I will do another podcast later on this afternoon because I'll be at Tracy McGrady's induction, and I will give my thoughts on Tracy McGrady as a member of the Orlando Magic. This is Danny Thompson, Around the Association, the podcast. We'll catch you guys later.